DMV Doers, Forces of Good on DC News Now.
Hello, I'm Mark Hall, and welcome to DMV Doers, Forces of Good. In the next 30 minutes, we will share the stories of men and women who work every day to make our communities healthier, safer, in the classroom and on the streets, and those pushing for change. To start, this DMV Doer is combining her love for fitness with her love for helping others. Take a look. Kendra Blackett-Debinga had a rewarding career in international affairs, but her focus changed after a conversation.
A friend of mine then told me that, about this yoga thing, and she said how it changed her life. She was taking medication daily for arthritis, and she said she went to one class and she didn't have to take her medication for 2 weeks. And I said, if it could do that for her, what could it do for me?
The Harvard graduate calls herself the Chief Visionary Officer of Bikram Yoga Works.
Hot yoga requires certain conditions.
Kendra's hot yoga class is a wellness effort that builds mind, body, and soul.
Our hot room is heated to 105 degrees and 40% humidity. We have a specific requirement for our heat that enables us to sweat and detoxify through our skin. We also are able to take the load off of our other detoxification organs like our kidneys and our liver.
Every member is different, and so are their results.
Whether it's at the head space, whether it's in the heart space, or whether it's in the gut space, right? And so a lot of our clients have, been exploring a lot of different modes of treatment for whatever ailments they may have had.
Kendra's class is more like a family.
We also offer people a sense of belonging, community, a sense of accountability. They develop compassion for themselves. They become less self-critical. And then because they realize that they're not perfect, they don't expect perfection from anybody else.
Now she's teaching others to lead hot yoga classes.
My goal is to, create a really strong bench of highly dedicated teachers who also share the same passion as me, which is to help people achieve their wellness, fitness, and other mental health goals.
Kendra sees constant growth in her clients and from within.
We're in a world right now where we're so distracted by so many different elements. When I'm in the room, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes of just being present. And I think if we can all figure out how to just be present for several minutes in a day, we actually have so much benefit from that.
And building community and advocating for people living with disabilities. Let's introduce you to DMV Doer, Stacy Brown. Most people know Stacy Brown as the owner of Signorama DC North, where she has provided valuable signs to people in the community for more than 13 years.
For most businesses that have particularly a brick and mortar, the number one thing is, being found. We're most concerned with how can they find you and how can we ensure the signage is consistent with your look online so that people aren't confused.
Stacy has a second Signorama in Silver Spring, but what most people don't know is that she's also a big supporter of Habitat for Humanity.
I have a personal affinity towards affordable housing. That's one of my personal, issues that I get involved with in my community.
Stacy occasionally provides address signs for new homeowners at no cost.
One of the things that I thought would be cool is how to get the homeowners involved to add a personal touch. So I volunteered and said, hey, we'd love to provide personalized address numbers. We'll work with the homeowner directly to understand their style. Do they want something classic? I think it can have a really big impact for something so small.
She's also a strong advocate for helping people with disabilities find employment.
I've been an advocate for them. I've spoken to other small businesses on their behalf. Every time they have someone, they send them my way. And that's something I've been doing for over a decade. It just seems to work well.
And she leads by practicing what she preaches. She has 3 neurodivergent employees and is a firm believer everyone has something to contribute.
Even a small business like me could utilize them in the fact that they also provide support to help keep my office in order, and they share a job. And then I have a graphic designer. So it's all levels of expertise.
And still ahead on DMV Doers, Forces of Good.
I plan to stay in the DMV area just to help with other youth, but it's something that I see as a long potential program that I really want to elevate.
This DMV Doer is showing her fellow students how to sew, stitch, and design their own clothing to prepare for their future. And later, a Maryland woman who spent decades trying to help young people stay out of trouble. You're watching DC News Now, Forces of Good. Stay with us.
DMV Doers, Forces of Good on DC News Now.
And welcome back to DMV Doers, Forces of Good. I'm Mark Hall. There are people in our community making a difference in the lives of others. Let me introduce you to Anaya Coffey, a teenager focused on helping others prepare for life after high school. Anaya Coffey is a senior at Phelps High School in the district, and she helps keep her peers off the streets and encourages them to participate in after-school programs.
It's very important to be getting students to already, as soon as you enter the door in 9th grade, start thinking about, what do I want to do after these 4 years?
Anaya started her own organization, Bliss XDC, that teaches students how to sew, stitch, and design their own clothing.
And I realized going into the pandemic and going into high school that my high school didn't offer programs like that. So I started reaching out to other areas across the city that possibly offer those programs, and there weren't any located in Ward 8. Since I'm a native resident to Ward 8, that is always something that you're going to need, especially since they took home ed out of school. So if you get maybe a hole or a patch in your clothes, most students don't know how to sew that back together. So we teach students some of the life skills that they need.
Bliss XDC takes place during school hours at Phelps and online after school for students throughout the public school system. It's also a mentorship program.
I like to reach out to other organizations and other individuals that like to come in and they speak to some of the students.
Anaya says her effort helps teens who may not have an interest in fashion stay focused.
We have a pilot program at Phelps with about 6 to 12 students that are actively participating, where we teach them about different entrepreneurship methods. If a student's interested in starting their own IT startup, they'll be able to learn those skills that are fundamental to be able to actually be a fantastic entrepreneur.
For Anaya, giving back and keeping Bliss XDC is a long-term goal and commitment.
Before I go to college, I definitely want to keep this as something that can go on forward, because I plan to stay in the DMV area just to help with other youth, but it's something that I see as a long potential program that I really want to elevate.
And in this DMV Doer story, an advocate for people with disabilities. Meet Karen Lee, CEO of Seeking Employment, Equality, and Community. Seeking Employment, Equality, and Community, also known as SEEK, is a nonprofit in Silver Spring, Maryland. It supports people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Karen Lee is the CEO.
I always say, rising tides raise all ships. We believe that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have a right to belong in their community, to live, work, and thrive in the same vein that you and I have that opportunity.
Lee has been part of the effort for more than 3 decades. SEEK helps people with disabilities at home and on the job.
So whether we're supporting them in their own home or the home of their family, supporting them on the job, or to become connected in the community, or to be a part of community activities, that our supports will help them to be able to do that.
When Lee started, they were helping about 10 people. 33 years later, SEEK is supporting over 300 men and women aged 20 and older. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and Karen says they don't push for pity hires. Those they represent go to work to make a difference.
There's not enough money in the world for an employer to hire somebody just because somebody has a disability. But us finding the skill, the contribution, the tasks, the way that a person contributes, it's no different for you and I as it is for a person with a disability.
Finding the right fit is key.
We're working to find out what they're good at, what they like, what their passion is, what interests them. Do they need to work in a quiet place? Do they want to work in a loud place? They need to be indoors, outdoors.
The satisfaction of seeing people with disabilities thrive and grow in confidence, along with the dedicated team at SEEK, keeps Karen going.
My first love is the service that we do. And so continuing to push the envelope, it's just been an incredible journey for me. And I'm incredibly proud to be involved. And I have colleagues here at SEEK that are just, incredibly passionate.
And still ahead on DMV Doers, Forces of Good.
Our team also is often around during the school day. So if some of the students that are in our program are having some kind of challenge in the classroom, we can intervene there instead of having them to sit in the principal's office.
I spoke with a local woman who is helping change the mindset of kids whose parents are or have been incarcerated. And later, we're highlighting the work of one church leader helping people in our area and around the globe. You're watching DMV Doers, Forces of Good on DC News Now. Stay with us.
DMV Doers, Forces of Good on DC News Now.
And welcome back to DMV Doer, Forces of Good. I'm Mark Hall. We shine the spotlight on a Maryland woman who spent decades trying to help young people stay out of trouble, especially those who have one or more relatives behind bars. Diane Wallace Booker is the executive director of the U.S. Dream Academy. It's a national after-school program for children whose parents are incarcerated.
We're in communities that often have been neglected by elected officials and others, so we call them underinvested communities. They don't have all of the resources necessary to really help young people thrive.
Booker has been running the program for 25 years, and the goal is to break the cycle.
What we know from the research is that the more positive relationships that young people have in their life, the more the higher chances they are of doing well in school, not dropping out, not getting involved in drugs.
The U.S. Dream Academy is based in Silver Spring, Maryland, and team members are helping elementary and middle school students across the country, including Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
Our team also is often around during the school day. So if some of the students that are in our program are having some kind of challenge in the classroom, we can intervene there instead of having them to sit in the principal's office.
Booker is a firm believer that a child with a dream is a child with a future.
We're definitely making a mindset shift, and we are trying to build what's called a growth mindset, where young people believe if I work hard, I can achieve something.
She says they are doing their part to steer young people in the right direction.
We see young people that are more often raising their hand in class and that are turning their homework in on time, that are taking on leadership role. All of those things are telling us they're more connected to their school, which are indicators that young people are going to have a higher rate of school success. You really see the difference when you are working with kids on a long-term basis.
The organization held its annual gala recently, and they received support from people from all walks of life, including Oprah Winfrey. Booker says the kids who attend the event get a chance to meet men and women who leave a lasting impression.
They're like, oh, I can do this too. And they start to think differently about their present, what's happening today. Am I showing up to school? How do we really ensure that young people, particularly Black young people, have a fair shot at life?
A Maryland man helping veterans struggling with PTSD while getting a little help from some furry friends. In the 1990s, Rick Yount was a social worker. One day when he had to remove a young boy from his home due to abuse and neglect, he decided to bring his dog.
It was this 4-month-old golden retriever pup. His name was Gabriel, with his head in this little boy's lap.
As the boy cried, Gabriel served as a form of comfort.
I never saw anything work as effectively in helping folks through trauma.
Realizing the power of service dogs, in 2011, Yount started Warrior Canine Connection. It's a trauma recovery program for veterans. They train service dogs to help men and women struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I was aware that there was a long wait period for veterans to get a service dog, sometimes 3 years plus.
Many veterans live in isolation, so Yount decided they should help train the dogs that will eventually help others. Yount calls it a win-win.
They have to take them out in the community, and when they do that, it's going to create a lot of social interactions, especially with civilians, and help reintegrate them back into their communities. We have to teach the dogs that when the dumpster door slams or a car backfires, We don't want them to be distracted.
Warrior Canine Connection is a nonprofit so veterans don't have to pay. The dogs are named after fellow veterans. Recently, a 101-year-old World War II veteran, Al Bucci, attended an event to give a dog named after him to someone who served. Fitting for a man who turned down 7 promotions so he could continue to be with the same brothers he served with during the Battle of the Bulge. Not all dogs make the cut, though. Those that don't still serve as therapy or facility dogs or military family support dogs.
So we do train dogs to identify and respond to different stress cues, mostly physical. Someone's leg is bouncing, the dog will come over and lay their head on the leg. Or if they're clenching their fist, the dog will come over and nudge them. It exceeded my wildest expectations. I obviously thought that this would work, but frankly, it worked beyond my wildest dreams.
And still ahead on DMV Doers, Forces of Good.
It changed me a lot. It made me think about 2 different lines I could go, 2 different courses I could take. I could take the one to get revenge, or I could take the road to try to make my grandmother and my mother proud of me.
Some community members digging into their own pockets to combat violence. Meet this DMV doer after the break. And we'll show you how one Harpers Ferry pastor is helping those not only in his community, but those all across the world. You're watching DMV Doer, Forces of Good on DC News Now. Please stay with us.
DMV Doers, Forces of Good on DC News Now.
And welcome back to DMV Doers, Forces of Good. I'm Mark Hall. This DMV doer is Keith Turner. He's working to help lower violent crime in neighborhoods throughout the region, and he has a unique approach. Take a listen. Keith Turner is a DMV native who lost his father and grandfather and other family members to violence.
It changed me a lot. It made me think about 2 different lines I could go, 2 different courses I could take. I could take the one to get revenge, or I could take the road to try to make my grandmother and my mother proud of me.
And following his loss, Turner's goal is to now make a difference in the region. He recently launched his No Black on Black crime effort.
Every night I was going to bed, I was seeing and hearing all of us getting killed by each other.
But he's had some challenges, receiving pushback from some in the community because of the name of the initiative.
Some politicians, I can't call their names out, I'll leave them alone. Well, I want to be a part of it, but if you can just change to no crime period. No crime period is not going to reach where we need it to reach.
Despite that, Keith has gained a lot of support from churches and everyday people, including ex-offenders and those still in the streets. He says he's well aware that there are many factors that contribute to violence.
In order for you to know, to solve a problem, you have to dig down and deal with the people who are causing the problem.
Keith Turner is investing nearly $50,000 of his own money for signs and billboards and marketing to promote no violence for the first 3 days in December in neighborhoods that have been hit hard by crime.
You have to start small before you walk. I have to build the community's confidence up that if we can do 3 days, we can do a week. And if we can do a week, we can do a month.
Turner says he's pushing for the same commitment during the first 3 days of Black History Month in February.
That's a month that we should not be killing each other. There are too many people who died for us already to achieve what we have. They didn't sacrifice their life for us to come back and kill each other.
Although his initiative may be controversial to some, Keith Turner hopes it will make a difference, and he's asking others to help.
The only thing I need you to do is sit down 30 minutes one time a week to pass it around to everybody you have in your phone, pass it around to everybody on your Facebook, and pass it around on Instagram and ask them, hey, pass this message on.
And meet Pastor John Unger, a church leader who has helped people all around the world and right here in the DMV. In the early 90s, Pastor John Unger helped Mother Teresa establish one of her missionaries in the Appalachia region. He also helped organize relief supplies in the poorest regions in Calcutta. Life-changing experiences that helped shape John Unger's future. Here in the U.S., Pastor Unger currently serves as a special advisor to the director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, working with faith and spiritual leaders to address drug addiction and mental health disorders.
And how do we bring that peace and common unity together? How do we bring people together to have that connectiveness in order to address loneliness, trauma, and other things that lead to addiction, leads to violence, that leads to mental illness.
On Sundays in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, he serves as the priest for the St. John's Episcopal Church and pastor for both St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church and Camp Hill Wesley United Methodist Church.
And that's not uncommon for pastors to do 2 or 3 churches. Normally it's the same denomination, but what's unusual about this is that there are 3 different denominations.
Leading 3 churches can be tough and rewarding.
You're with people at their very best, and you're also with people at their most challenging times. I've tried to, in the last 10 years of my ministry, really open up people to not be judgmental, but to be accepting and loving.
Pastor John Unger puts his all into each sermon.
One time you say, well, did you have to prepare 3 different sermons? And I would do so because I have people that go to both services or all 3.
Pastor John Unger has no intention of slowing down anytime soon.
I'll do it as long as the good Lord gives me the energy and calls me to do this work. That's what I'm meant to do.
And a special thank you to our DMV Doers, and thank you for watching DMV Doers, Forces of Good. If you want to see the latest DMV Doers, join DC News Now Mondays at 4 p.m. And for more, head to our website, dcnewsnow.com/DMV-Doers. I'm Mark Hall. We'll see you next time.